I think back to the first time I wanted to do something was like when I was in grade school. I was in fourth grade, right? And so, you had the glee club and the chorus and all of this stuff. And I always thought, I heard them singing, and I couldn't read music or anything, but I could sing. And I listened to these kids, and they were all off pitch and off key, and it was like I was sitting in the back, very frustrated. I can do this better than these kids can do this. These kids got to get out of the way. I got to get in there. But because I was a rambunctious kid, they wouldn't let me into the singing part of the. I was always kept after school and had to walk home alone, so I couldn't get in on any of this stuff because I was a bother to the classmates. Then the Beatles came out, and me and my friends went home and we cut out from the cardboard boxes guitar-shaped things, and we'd come in show and tell, and we'd play a record and mouth to that stuff. It's like I had to do this stuff, even though I couldn't play guitar at the time. I had a cardboard one, but the neck kept bending over. It was awful. It looked awful. We had the Beatle wigs and all that stuff. We would just.
So you actually had pretend guitar before.
Oh
you had
yeah.
guitar.
We drew strings on it. We didn't have, we had magic markers. I'm trying to remember. So then the reason a guitar got introduced to me was my older brother was listening to like Kingston Trio, Peter Palmieri. That was the stuff that was on the radio then. That was the generation, the era. So he bought a guitar, and we both shared the same room. And he plays guitar a little bit with his Mel Bay books and try to teach himself. And then he'd slide it under his bed, and he'd go out and say, "Don't ever touch my guitar." So as soon as he went out the door, I closed the door. I pulled out his guitar. Now I'm left-handed, and I don't know. So I'm holding it this way. Most people hold the guitar this way. Well, I didn't. There's nobody around to show me wrong. And being left-handed, I guess okay. Here's that, and this is that, and here's the book, and it shows you. Here's your hands, here's the strings, and so I learned for like a year and a half. I was in the bedroom secretly playing my brother's guitar, learning upside down and backwards, and nobody knew it. But I was determined to learn those three chords, C, G, and F. I think it killed me. I couldn't do it, but I got it. And I remember my father always saying, "Is that the only three chords you know?" I mean, he pissed me off. So I nailed an A too, the same day. I said, "Okay, now I got four chords. How about that then?"
Maybe that was his way of egging you on to
well, I don't know if it was, but it sure worked.
Yeah, right.
Because I was frustrated too.
Yeah.
Anyways, it worked out. So the spark was just, I knew I could do it. Somehow it was part of me so I did that.
Okay, so.
Okay. The thing that made it to the next level for me to play solo, I had been in, when I was a kid, bands, just garage bands and everything. And then I stopped for 25 years. And I'm in this motorcycle club, and every year they have an annual holiday party, Christmas party, and they always bring in entertainment, a DJ or a magician or something. And I was on the committee for that year's annual party, and I says, "Why don't we have a live band? We haven't done that yet." I used to be a musician. I'll go around looking at bands, and I'll find one that'll suit the club. And they said, "Oh, that's great." So I spent the next 6 months going to bars and clubs around the Worcester area looking at bands. And I'm looking at them and saying, half of these bands, they're not that good. I mean, I'm having a hard time finding one suitable. And I'm looking at these guys and say, "Geez, I could do that." And I could do that. So I found a band for that year. They were Mason Tyler Trio, very good guys, professionals, excellent musicians, and no guitars. But they inspired me to think about, I should start playing out. So I started going to open mic nights. I hadn't played in 25 years, so when I went out there, the first time I went up, I was nervous as hell because all these other guys had been playing open mics for a long time. I was the newbie. I found out in comparison to them, I couldn't play at all. It was awful. But I didn't know I was awful till I saw those guys, and it was like, well, I'll just get like they are. So I went to every open mic I could. I was 5 to 6 nights a week, every week for a year. Very consistently. It was like a training ground for me. So I followed that, until I come up to the level that all the guys that were playing open mics were at. And then from that, I started getting gigs, like where we are right now. I got this gig from a place down the street where Bill McCarthy was doing open mic nights. And the owner from here was down there, and he says, "You, why don't you come out here and play?" I'm right up the street here in Milford. And he said, "Well, and how much do you get?" I hadn't played out yet. I never got a paying gig. "How much do you get and when can you come out?" And I says, "Oh, I don't know, $150. He said, "Okay, I want you here next Thursday." Okay. So I came out next Thursday, and I looked the place over, and I thought, well, this is nice. He said, "I want you every Thursday and every Sunday." I said, "What, for like a week, a month? What, you got rotating?" No, he says, well, I said something like, "How long do I have to play here?" He says, "Till one of us dies." I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but I'll take it. And I've been here for almost a year now.
Now, what if you hadn't gone out to that open mic that night?
Exactly. Or what if he had talked to the guy before me or the guy after me? I mean, it came out of nowhere. It was really bizarre. And I'm very appreciative of this. Is a great room to play. They seem to appreciate me.
But that's just a kind of a neighborhood example of the luck aspect in the music business. I would say,
Exactly. Right.
you have to have the drive and the talent and everything, but then there's also this aspect of you got to be in the right place
At the right time.
And
Exactly.
there's no way to really know what that is, other than to just keep going and keep. If you hadn't been at the open mic perhaps every week.
Right.
Might
All right. I
yeah.
could have just not. I could have skipped that night.
Yeah.
And it would have been whoever was there that night that would have got it.
That's interesting.
Worked out great. What do you think about the road?
And how that maybe has affected you.
It's made me a much better player. What I've been honing what I do by I watch the crowd. I look over the crowd. I look at their age demographics. I'll play for the younger kids first because they leave, and then so I'm working up my set list. Also, I find it how to get the sound that I want. You know, the dynamics of not being too loud or not playing too fast, which I still have a problem with. Sometimes I go way too fast. But I've found that the more I play, the more consistent I get. I learn how to breathe, and my rhythms and all that stuff I get polished and get a little better and better all the time. So it's working for me to be consistent. The thing that bothers me is I don't like repeat myself. Like even in conversation, when you're playing the same. At least for me, the same 112 songs all the time. It's like, but I don't have time to practice and add more. So it's like I feel like I'm boring people, but apparently I'm not. I seem to be getting away with it, as the crowd seems to turn over pretty good. But the fact that I'm playing the same songs all over and over again, they always get better and better. I found out lately I've just been starting to record a little bit and listen to what I can do, which really helps. I mean, I had never recorded, never even heard recordings of me until recently, and that's a big a tool for improving. So performances. So much the same songs over and over again. It's a little. It doesn't feel challenging to me, but I can't wait to play a new venue. Same songs. It's like I feel fresh. This is good. These people haven't heard me yet, and there's something about my attitude on the performance when I'm in a new venue. It's like I don't know what that is.
Is it a combination of excitement and fear? Sometimes I know for me,
it could be.
It's like you don't know what to expect. So
yeah. But if I see a room, if I go into a room and I try to sell myself in and say, you know, I'm a professional player. If you do live entertainment, consider me. If I like the room, I feel very confident. I never feel too nervous about it. Unless it's a young crowd, because they don't get me. My music is 50s to 80s, maybe at best.
Yeah.
The college kids don't.
Well, you can be.
We got to think about that for a minute.
Maybe you don't, but even if it's just
Paying
an
my dues.
anecdote.
I haven't since I started playing for pay. Not quite a year ago. I haven't done any like paying your dues of any kind that I can think of.
Really didn't have any like extreme gigs where you had to travel really far to play a gig and it seemed like it wasn't worth it.
The only dues I'm paying is with my family life. I mean, I'm away, you know,
Yeah.
many nights a week. There's always, I feel a little bit guilty about that because maybe it seems like I'm out just having a good time and socializing and there's people coming up to me. But it isn't any of that. But, you know, it's just work. I come out here, I do my thing, and I play, and I go home. I don't really interact too much with anybody, so I'm not really socializing. I'm working. It's a job. It's a job. I work harder at this than I work my 9 to 5 thing in one night. But I don't remember any news about being on the road. I like the driving. It's a little, at night, especially in the winter time when the roads are miserable. Driving home is kind of like, ugh. But I'm glad I'm doing it. So, I haven't seen the downside yet.
I'd say you're playing all your open mics, even though you were enjoying it, was sort of a way of paying dues because you were.
Well, okay. I was paying my dues at the open mics.
Yeah, because you were going there, you weren't getting compensated other than your experience. So
yes, I was getting great experience and actually a lot of good encouragement from the other players. I was surprised at that because I thought they were going to be real competitive. Most of the other players really helped bring me up. They gave me really top-notch advice. They didn't steer me the wrong way on anything. Everybody gave me really good, solid advice. And so then when I started coming up and I saw people who were my entry level, I made sure I turned back around to them and said, here's how you come up, here's what I had to do. And you just pass it on down. And so eventually everybody's coming up and then we're all working. And that's one thing I like about musicians, at least the ones I've met, are very sharing. And will keep you professional, keep you working. My set list. So I had it based on the stuff that I had learned before, relearned it, and learned it correctly. And then I found out, I looked at the catalog of maybe I had 40 songs, and they were all 1964 to 1972, and that was it. And that's all I knew, that's all I cared to. I didn't want to learn anything beyond that. Just wanted to learn the songs that I used to know. And then when I'm out playing, I started hearing that, well, don't you know anything that I know? That was one of the comments I heard a lot. Yeah, because they were younger kids. And so I was forced to start, not forced to, but I learned to expand my repertoire, at least some up into the 80s now, to some degree. Or then if there's novelty songs, like, on St. Patrick's, you got to learn a couple Irish songs, and which I learned from you, thank you very much. Which helped out. And I still use them. You don't have to be St. Patrick's Day to play these songs because they're good drinking songs. So I expanded my repertoire a bit. And then I found that there are places I can play and there are places I shouldn't play. Not the college coffee houses. But at a restaurant or somewhere they're 50 years or older, which now sounds kind of old, I guess we are. They find my stuff fine, and then they're not complaining about, I don't know the latest of anything. I don't have to do any Dave Matthews or anything like that. But I remember, who was it, McCarthy? Someone was saying, no, it probably wasn't McCarthy. I'm never going to play Margaritaville, someone said. And that's selling out. Everybody plays that song. And I said, I'm with you. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do that one by... Take the old things off the shelf.
Bob Seger.
Bob Seger, Good Time Rocker. I'm never going to play that song. Never, never, never. Now I play it now because people asked for it.
Which, both of them? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are two out. Oh, good. Somebody's got some integrity. I'm going to do what those guys do. Never play those songs. Well, about 3 months into playing it out, I end up playing out both of those songs because that's what people want.
Yeah.
So, and I felt a little, I'm selling out. And sometimes you go on the internet, you see other players, and they're criticizing guys like us who are out there playing Margaritaville. Play with the people. I'm there for the music. I'm not there for me. This is not I want the people to come in and remember a song and be brought back to that. They don't have to look. They don't have to see me. It's the music. It's not the player.
Yeah. The player is.
Well, I've been self-employed anyways for, 30 years, a little more than that. So I know how you can build a relationship between what you're supplying and the customer. There's the product to sell, but then there's also the personality of you and the customer. You can lose a customer just from having a lousy attitude. You can have a good product. So, and I think I know how to do both in my personal business. Same thing with music. You can have a good personality, but if the show isn't that well polished, or if you're hodgepodge, or you're kind of all over the place, you don't hold the customer's attention very well. You have to have a good presentation. You have to play well, and you should try and have some rapport with the people, because they're the customer. And that's the other thing. I play with pretty much what the customer wants. I don't play at them. I play to them. And they'll come up with suggestions. I got tons of suggestions that I've never got to. But I try to cover as much as I can. So if you're looking at it as a business, you're the company, you're the store, they're the customer, they want to consume what you got. You better have what they want. And because I know how to find a crowd that's at the right demographic age, then I come in and pretty much know what they're going to want to hear. And I think I have a pretty good package of about, I don't know, it's maybe 180 songs, under 200 songs. But most of those I can touch every one of them in the audience, maybe one by one, with one song or another.
And I would think that it makes it easier to give them.
When I was in a band, before I was doing the solo thing, there were a lot of good venues. There were always big crowds. It was crazy, and it was, and it's not like that anymore. It's the places aren't shoulder to shoulder with people yelling and screaming and dancing anymore. They're more subdued. They sit back and they sort of watch it while they're eating, and they listen a little bit. It's not like it used to be. But so I've adapted to that. But I'm still playing sort of the older stuff. Now, the newer stuff that's out now, if they're young musicians now, they're going to want to play that. Well, I don't know where they're playing this stuff now. I mean, there's the sort of the punk and the grunge bands that are sort of doing their thing. But the solo artists, I don't know that there's I don't see the future of the solo artists. I don't know. We don't have the Bob Dylans and the solo performers that we're emulating.
What about for somebody to?
I don't know, if I was to encourage younger players now, someone say in their teens, if they want to play guitar and go out and sing, I don't know what they would be. Here's what they should do. They have to be original and write their own, and start a new generation of music that's consumable, so that you can continue to play out at local venues like this. There must be something new and fresh that we don't know, we haven't heard yet. There's someone out there now that's going to someone's going to come up with it, but I don't know what it is yet. I haven't seen it or heard it. I know plenty of guys who are playing it, writing their own stuff, and they're very good. And they play around, but they're getting older, and I don't see the stuff isn't getting picked up by the next generation. They say, I'm going to take that and run with it, and somebody's going to have to invent the next wave.
And it's kind of like what you described.